Hi, everybody. Radical Gardener here. And this is, I think, my third interview. But I wanted to interview my next guest, who I've met on my YouTube channel. He's one of the subscribers, and his story was so interesting. And it looked like he just had a lot of knowledge in some of the areas that we would like to have as we're getting ready for this grand solar minimum, and we're trying to come up with some clever ideas to grow food. So I wanted to introduce Paul. So hi, Paul.
Hi there.
Okay, so it's Paul Smith, and have you been, paying attention to the weather? I mean, how did you even get connected to this group of people who are talking about the weather changes?
I was raised on a post-Depression wheat farm in northern Idaho. And I say post-Depression because I was born in 1941. And so we were just coming out of the Depression. And so on the farm, as we were farming, we didn't have any modern equipment. The only kind of equipment we had was, a tractor to plow the ground and those kind of equipments. A thresh machine to harvest the grain and this sort of thing. But as far as any of the modern sprays, and right in about, I would say early on, the DDT came out, and and I remember the farmers using DDT because we grew sweet peas. And so the DDT would get the aphid off the sweet peas. And so we were, early adopters to that because it increased our yield. Obviously, all of these chemicals that we learned to use was for that. It was to increase the yield. And so we didn't have any freezers. All the food had to be canned or preserved, either smoked or preserved with salt or pressure canned. Didn't even have, they came out with their locker plants in the early 50s. We could go to town and they had this big freezer plant, and you could rent a locker to put food in, and it was kind of a big step for us. So we had probably a garden that was at least an acre a year, and we put up hundreds of quarts of beans and peas and left the carrots in the ground, left the parsnips in the ground, the turnips were in the ground. We just left them there and marked the rows, and then went out in the middle of winter and dug them out as we needed them. And grew potatoes somewhat. And but that's basically we canned when we killed a pig, for instance. The only thing we didn't eat was the squeal. And and so, and we were close to the land, if you will. And so we didn't have any pets, animals. Yes, they were pets, but we knew that eventually they would end up being preserved and eaten. I mean, that was part of the
It's part of the food cycle.
part of this thing. You just ate them. I mean, that was it. I mean, that was the only reason why they were there. We didn't like horses because at that stage, the mechanical systems had overtaken the horse, and so the horses were nothing but hay burners, and they were not welcome because they didn't serve a purpose outside of recreation. And everything that we did was really pretty serious. I tell people that we were poor and didn't even know it as kids, because we had food in the house and sort of clothes, and that was it. In 1990, when I got my Moses moment, and I was called in 1991 to go to Haiti, it was interesting in that I came home and I looked at the kids' globe to really find where Haiti was. And I realized, okay, there it is. But all of the experiences that I was given on the farm, I was told, remember when you learned this, I want you to use that here. And so it was just an absolute amazing experience. Each experience was amazing. And I was in 4-H, which is another, when you talk about basic items, one of the things that we could do, I remember I hear you talking about having problems with people or you wanting to give classes and people not being receptive to that. And one of the things that we did was in 4-H, we had 4-H clubs, and we did projects in the 4-H clubs and these sort of things. And so that's basically it.
Well, just
And,
even like the basic things like when a young boy takes Eagle Scouts or Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts, which seems to be kind of this disappearing organizations, but there was a lot of skills that were taught in those organizations.
Yes, and yeah, I was in 4-H for 12 years, and that's how I learned how all my mechanics, most of my mechanics, some of it, I mean, we were around the farm and had to rebuild equipment. The closest mechanic was 25 miles away, and so if it had to be fixed, we had to learn how to do it. And so then with the animals, the same way is that we had a sick animal, you kind of had to learn how to take care of it. And because there was just no veterinary close or anything else.
Or had the money to have someone come and do it for you.
That's correct. And when an animal got down to the point where it wasn't good, we generally shot it in the head and did something with it because it was just not, here again, we just wanted to get it out of the herd, if you will, or separated. And then if it was really sickly, then we really didn't need to have it around.
Yeah, it's a different reality to live on a farm. You look at things in a very different way.
Yes, yeah. There was no, there were things that were nice to have, but if we couldn't afford them, they just didn't occur, and yet we enjoyed ourselves. I mean, we had a loving experience and stuff, and this sort of thing. One of the things that I do want to bring up is this book. It's called The Doomsday Book of Medicine. And
can you hold that up a little bit further, Paul?
There, is that good? Oh, yeah, there it is. Good. I see it now.
Got it.
Yeah, because this is written by Ralph LaGuardia, MD, and it covers just about everything. If there's no doctor around, and that book, I think if you go on Google, I think it's about $50. It's not cheap.
Yeah, I keep telling people hard copy, hard copy, hard copy.
Oh, because, well, the point is that I was just listening to somebody on YouTube where they were talking about magnetic pole shift, and which we're into.
Yes, we are
right now. And what that allows to happen is that we're going to have space weather come in and attack the Earth.
Right.
And it could very well knock the electric grid down.
Yeah.
And once that electric grid goes down, they're talking, a FEMA report says 5 to 10 years before it'll be reestablished. Society as we know it will disappear.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. So, tell me, getting back to going to Haiti. So, tell me, what was it like when you got there? I mean, was that overwhelming? I mean, did you know what to expect? I mean, tell me what was that like for you?
Well, no, absolutely didn't know what to expect. I'm this country boy from northern Idaho, and I've been called to go to Haiti. And my bride went with me, and we get off the airplane, and you have to walk down the stairs then, and they open the door to the airplane, and you look out, and this heat just assaults you.
That would
You're
have just made
assaulted
me go
with
back
just
home.
just I mean, it gets maybe 91 to 93 degrees, but it's almost 100% humidity. I mean, it just, damn, I could not imagine why anybody'd want to take a cruise to the Caribbean. It
Well,
just doesn't.
I have. I just want to interject here. Is I have a young student, and whenever it gets humid, she says, "God, isn't it like breathing marshmallows?" And I always thought
Uh,
that was a
yeah,
great
yeah,
way to describe it. So okay, then there's the heat, right? That's number one.
yeah. And then we walk down the stairs, and here's a couple of guards standing on each side the door with an Uzi. And you walk in, and of course you're attacked by, I mean, the poverty is just, the poverty assaults you because, and I tell people that over the years that I think my farming experience was good in that we had a purpose. And so I was called to go to the Haiti for a purpose. I tell people that if you came there with resources, you could just literally hand out everything you brought without even leaving the airport and get on the plane and go home because it's that bad. And so you had to look beyond. And that's one of the things that we're going to have to do when this comes. You have to look beyond uh, what assaults you. What you have to do is say, okay, I am here for a purpose. And that's one of the things that I talk about in my calling is that I am here for a purpose, not. And so we have to, one of the things is that one of my presents to myself was a pilot's license for my 40th birthday. And my instructor always said, no matter what, you have to fly the airplane. Their farming techniques were abominable. And they aren't stupid. They are ignorant, but they're not stupid. And they're ignorant in that they've never inculcated a better way. I'll put it that way. And that was what I was called to do, is to say, I have a better way. I went, my first trip was our first trip was in 1991. And then in 1997 was introduced to a young man called Etienne Francois. And they have a school in Lacais, Haiti, that is a great agronomy agricultural school. Um, Franz Couture is his name. He went to University of Pacific up out of Seattle and established a school. It's called SEED, and that's an acronym, and I could never remember what it is. But they train veterinary technology, animal husbandry, and agronomy, and they teach people how to clone plants and this sort of stuff. Well, Etienne had graduated from that school and was at and what we have in Haiti is we have a sister church program. And so we would travel every year as a team visit to our sister church in Haiti. And so in 1997, Etienne was there doing field work. They had to do 6 months worth of field work before they graduated. And so I went to the missionary, that we worked with and said, what would it take to keep Etienne in the village? And so we supported Etienne, and today we have a thing called Compassion for Haiti. I'll put in a plug. It's called compassionforhaiti.org. Please go and donate if you have a heart to do that. But basically, it's the same as a 4-H. And so Etienne started in the community, and they had these farming associations that Etienne established, and that's what we could establish. It's a great model in that you have different groups of different people, just like 4-H clubs, that you have different groups of different people interests. And so, okay, I'm going to learn how to say maybe make some way to make and store electricity or whatever. And you get together as a group of people and you discuss what you've learned. And so it's a group thing. Each person goes out and, okay, I'm going to study this. And then they come in and give a report on what they've done. And Etienne's Farming Association just exploded through what we call the Les Anglais. Our village was Les Anglais, Haiti. And if you look at your right hand here, this is the island of Hispaniola. This half is the Dominican Republic. This half is Haiti. And then Port-au-Prince is right here. And La Caille, Haiti is right here. And our sister church is right at the thumbnail. And so it was about 130 miles from Port-au-Prince over impossible roads. And it was, even today, you go across 3 rivers to get there. Literally ford 3 rivers to get there. And so they were pretty isolated. And so the farming associations, we've made all the difference in the world. And I say we, the only thing that we had anything to do with was strictly just to support Etienne in his work there. And but we've fed children, we've fed kids, we've got programs going, we've got all of this. And so it's the sort of thing that I see happening right now, because we're falling into this system. And that's how I happened to come to this, was that I was on BP Earthwatch. I think that he's one of the YouTube people that is talking about global cooling situation we're in. And so he happened to have a spaceweather.com up. And I think he was talking about a hurricane or something. And up above that, because he just happened to just put the web page up there, and he was reading down below something, and up above that, I happened to see something about where we get space storms come in, and it affects astronauts, pilots on high altitude planes, and those of us with heart problems. Oh, really? So I get on there and go on to spaceweather.com and start reading this, and the rest of it's kind of history, because spaceweather.com has all of this stuff on it. And so, yeah. And so I didn't want to be here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, and none of us want to be here. None of us would, we'd all love to be out in a golf course or kumbaya, but because we are the lead in this. And one of the things that people have to understand is that you are training to be a leader, whether you want to be or not, because you have people are going to come and say, what do we do?
Well, I mean, this is, this is is not unknown information. And it's really human nature where people just think it's not going to happen to them. I mean, and really, there's nothing you can do to change their minds about that. And nor is it my job to change anybody's mind. All I do is I just, for me, I put information out there, and if they want that information, they want it. If they don't, they don't. There's just nothing you can really do about that. And so what I've learned is just speak from personal experiences. This is what I think. This is how I've prepared, and
Sure.
if you want to take the ball and run with it, that's great. If not, okay. But they're only going to learn by going through their own crisis. I mean, that's how we all really learn. Really,
That's right.
but that we go through, and like I was definitely had a very poor. I had a very poor upbringing. I was in the city, so it was obvious to me we were poor. And so I don't take it for granted that things will just be there. That was my gift of being raised in poverty, is understanding that that if I needed something, I was going to have to either work for it, or nobody was going to give it to me. That's what I knew.
Yeah.
So tell me about the system that you set up. This is what's so interesting to me is what did you set up? Like what you had said in your email to me is that they really couldn't leave their gardens outside because their food would be stolen. So they'd have to be able to bring their gardens in and out every day, right?
Yeah, it's interesting in that there was, and I have looked, and I can't find his name, but there was a man in the mid 90s that was invited to go to Africa, to a nation in Africa, to do an economic development thing. And he gets over there and they says, there's no economy here. They don't have roads. They don't have anything. And he developed I think it's called the Dutch bucket. Food security. Food security is going to be paramount. And so if we have the facilities to be able to grow, and so grow small amounts of food in small spaces. And that's what I became, because in Haiti, there's no commercial gardening, if you will. They're all like gardens. I mean, even the little plots of corn and all it, bananas and anything else, they're just little plots. I was thinking about bringing along some pictures of some of the the shanty towns and everything else around Port-au-Prince, but you could just picture that. Well, you can't grow food there because it won't even ripen before it's stolen. And so you have to be able to secure it some way.
Do you have pictures of what those look like?
Oh yes, I have one. I'll forward you, but it's just incredible. I have a picture of the Shanty area flying into Port-au-Prince from the airplane, and and then I have a picture from the edge of the town, and it's just incredible. But anyway, you can't, you can't, once you've been there and seen it, it becomes part of your
it's
life.
Life-changing. It's life-changing.
I mentioned that I was my 40th birthday present to myself was a pilot's license, and the last time I flew was just before I went to Haiti. And after I came back, I just gave up flying completely, because I had learned early on what makes airplanes fly. And it's not the wind over the wings, it's the amount of money you have to fly an airplane, because they're horribly expensive. And I was called to say, no, that resource has to go over here.
You know what? Most people live in urban in an urban environment, and that's where they're going to live. So, and
That's
they may
right.
die there, they may not die there, they may thrive there. I don't know. I can't tell the future, but that's the reality. It's one of the reasons I wanted to start a YouTube channel, because I really felt like that wasn't really being dealt with in a way where people really understanding what the urban challenges were. I mean, first of all, most people don't have space, they don't have money, they don't have a way of getting out of town. So what can they do? And you have to keep it simple. You have to keep it really simple. Not unlike your experiences in Haiti. They may live in a hut or a one room shanty, and they may or may not have a little piece of ground to grow anything on. I mean, like, what are you going to do? So, and until they can get over every man for himself and start forming communities, it will be a problem, right?
Well, yes, but when you look at the disasters that have hit Haiti, there, the earthquake in 2010, and now in 2016, October, major hurricane that just absolutely destroyed our village. It came on shore in our village and stayed there for a while and then moved on. And so it literally destroyed the whole south end of the island. And yet the people came out and started digging things out, and they started digging and working. And so that's the thing I look at, is that even in the hurricanes, you look at the hurricanes that hit in the east, and immediately there were people out digging out, and
yeah, they came together. But are they going to come together after a long period of not having something to eat? That's when it gets
well, and I think that people say that that's the reason why my bride and I love to go down to Columbia and have lunch, and we were on the way back about a year and a half ago. And I looked and I said, if we had an earthquake, wouldn't be able to get home. That's my bride back there behind me.
Come on.
And so then I just said that we wouldn't have any way to get home, because where we are in a car, when an earthquake hits, where you are if you survive. And so then I took steps to ensure that we are that at least we could survive. And so we have freeze dried food and all kinds of stuff in the car, and first aid kit and all of that. And that's basically, I think that's what we need. If you're in a city and this stuff happens, if you're in a city, this is going to be, you're going to have to 72 hours, at least 72 hours, at least 4 to 5 days. You're going to have to learn to live. And so the immediate thing is you got to have, and that's the reason why I say you have to have a bug out bag, and you have to have, for instance, I would say that you can't do it all at once, but you need to have probably 3 months of expenses, cash on hand, cash, and you could build that up, so much a week and put it someplace, because all of those things are part of it. So, yeah.
Well, thank you.
Well, this is going on a little bit. Do you have any other questions?
No. I mean, thank you. I just wanted you to share your experience. I mean, I knew you were a wise old soul, and so I wanted to, just have a conversation with you and share that. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, thank you so much, Paul. You have a really lovely day. Okay.
All right.
All right.
You too.
All right, honey. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.